So we are going to talk about Davina McCall's Menopause book.
Ooh,
Yes, which I have just finished listening to on Audible. And I want to start by celebrating it because I think it is great what Davina is doing in terms of bringing menopause into the mainstream and bringing the debate and bringing the conversation. And something that has been in the shadows for years and years and never really talked about is now being talked about. And I think that is amazing.
that is amazing. And however,
However, okay. So what I thought would be really great is for us to give our perspective on some of the pieces of advice and recommendations that are brought up in the book, and to offer an alternative perspective. So I think
lovely.
I think one of the big ones that I want to name is that Davina is very clear. She brings a doctor into the book to bring the medical advice, and she is very, very clear that she is not like trying to offer medical advice, or what she's doing is offering her opinion, which I think is valid. Her experience is really valid. However, her experience is that she hit perimenopause and it was hard, and she found a style of HRT that works for her, which is she is on the estrogen patches, I believe, and she is also on the Mirena coil. And the way that it comes across in the book is that this is the miracle cure to menopause, and this is it because it works for her, because she feels better. She is very clear about promoting it. She wants to raise the debate about women being okay with HRT and as a concept. However, it does come across as that this is the best way.
Yeah, I think this
And
is the thing.
estrogen
I
is
think
the savior.
I think this is the thing, isn't it? Is the way that the debate has been raised right now. Firstly, the discussion, I agree with you. Thank God we are talking about menopause. Because even when I first started going through menopause, 50 million years ago, 8 years ago, I remember feeling such stigma about it. And then that blinding realization of, oh gosh, if I'm feeling this, other women are feeling this, and I'm going to have to put my old granny pants on and actually, like my big girl pants, and start talking about it. And that's really why we started sort of really promoting menopause, was because it's something, just the word itself had been such an issue for me to reconcile. So I'm so thrilled that people like Davina have raised awareness of it, because it did feel like quite a battle. Like it was quite exhausting being out there on the front line by myself. So I'm thrilled. However, you're absolutely right. What it's done is it's turned menopause, firstly, into this medicalized thing. And there's a couple of issues with that. It is great that we are looking more objectively at HRT. There's a lot of fear around HRT. The problem is we're sort of still right to have some fear around some HRTs. And it's about that education piece, isn't it? And it's about empowering ourselves to understand. I don't come across many women who are able to navigate through menopause these days without HRT of one type or another. And I think that's an important distinction to make here. Davina is talking about a very specific type of HRT. But there is also a lot of women who really promote the non-medicalization of HRT, and a lot of women who are doing it naturally or trying to do it naturally. And ultimately, I think the really important message here, it's like, it sort of reminds me of when I had my daughter 19 years ago, and it was so judged whether or not you breastfed. It was so judged whether or not, how quickly they crawled, or how that, all of that stuff. And I think I'd like to think, I don't know if it's true, I'd like to think we've started to get to a place now with motherhood where it's like, you know what, you're getting through, your child is fed, it's surviving, you haven't killed yourself. Well done. Like, let's just take the judgments out of it. And I sort of feel the same with menopause. If a woman wants to go through menopause with HRT, great. If a woman wants to go through menopause without HRT, whatever is the right choice for her and for her body and for her lifestyle. That is ultimately the most important thing, not just promoting that the medical option is the be all and end all. Saying that, I wouldn't be able to get out of bed without my HRT. Like, my menopause broke me, absolutely broke me. And I tend to see the women whose menopause is breaking them. And so HRT, Davina is right. The right HRT can be an absolute game changer for women. There is an issue, however. The bit I'm interested in is, why are so many women struggling with menopause now? Because I look back at my aunties and my grandma, and it's not just because they didn't talk about it. We are having worse menopause now than we have ever had. And it's because of the state of our bodies going into menopause. This is something you and I talk about a lot, and this is not that discussion. And so if you're interested in why, check out some of our other videos, because we go into great depth around this. So that's one of the most important things, of rather than just look at the fix and the sticking plaster, which is the medical approach, can we start looking at why? Because I don't want my daughter going through what I've been going through for the last 10 years. That to me seems really important. Then when we've started addressing that, then we have to really start looking at, okay, let's talk about the HRTs that are being promoted by the medical model, because ultimately they aren't a one size fits all miracle. And personally, I'm quite concerned for Davina's health being on the Mirena coil, because I'm interested to see what that fallout is in 10 years' time when she's through the menopause. And that's the problem, is the synthetic progesterone actually causes quite a lot of issue in a woman's body. Some women don't really notice, but the women who don't really notice, it's curious that she's saying that this has changed her life. And yet she also admits in the book to having been on the pill for her whole life. So her body is just full of synthetic progesterone.
Women... there seems to be a real gap in the book around this understanding of synthetic hormones. So there is a piece where she says that before the menopause, her periods were regular as clockwork, but she was on the pill. So there's this misunderstanding of what a period is about. For it to be a proper period, you need to go through ovulation, and you don't do that on the pill. And I think you're absolutely right that this, why are we having such horrendous menopauses, isn't really covered. It is she shares lots of women's experiences, which I think is really positive. And what really struck me, I mean, we get it in the clinic a lot, is how tough women are having menopause. I mean, listening to their experiences, it is pretty horrendous. But there seems to be this real gap of, she talks a little bit about diet, but she doesn't really talk about food quality and food choices. It's more about restricting calorie content, which, yes, I appreciate. As we go through perimenopause and menopause, we do need less calories, but that is such a tiny piece of the puzzle. And there's such a missed opportunity to talk about things like food intolerances, where we're getting our nutrition from in the food choices. I mean, we do a lot of this work looking at macronutrients, so your protein, fats, and carbs, balancing and looking at your micronutrients, so your vitamins and minerals and your omegas.
And how that affects your hormones, the balance of those, more importantly than calories.
So I think that was missing. The book was, so these are the experiences of women, this is the experiences of Davina. The doctor was brought in to explain a little bit more, and then there was here's the medical model, here's HRT as a solution. And from our work, it is so much more diverse than that. We look at food quality, we look at nutrition, we look at lifestyle, we look at stress. One thing I thought that was really missing is Davina talked about the emotions that come up with the hormones, like the menopausal rage that women can get, and how HRT was a solution to that. And again, I think it's a missed opportunity, is that menopause as a stage in life, this perimenopause stage, is such an opportunity to clear out and detox emotionally all the stuff that's happened to us. And if we go straight for the, well, this is my hormones and my hormones are the problem, and I'm just going to take HRT to stop feeling this, we miss it.
It's the repression of women, isn't it? It's the repression of women, and that is an issue. There is a point. I know that I have a lot less tolerance than I ever had, but I celebrate it because I'm clearer with my boundaries. I don't have capacity like I had, but I actually feel more fierce. I don't feel repressed because of the hormones I'm on a natural HRT, which you can get from the doctor. And that's the bit I feel was missing, is the options for the body identical. And the bit that bothered me, and this is what I have emailed Davina's team about, because she's making programs, and I'm like, please, please, my clinic is full of the women who say, I'm doing everything that Davina said I need to do. I'm on the thing that Davina said I need to be on. And I feel absolutely horrific. And so it's not taking into account the women who aren't able to process those hormones, who the synthetics aren't possible for. If they're on estrogen, but they've got gut imbalance, they won't be able to process that estrogen. It just doesn't take into account the women where this isn't working. And so you've got women who are struggling, doing everything that they're being told is going to change their life. And then actually they're kind of back being marginalized again, because now, well, where do I go now? So that's also my issue. And that is personally the issue I've been trying to raise with Davina's team. Like, can we have a conversation about this, please? Because this is happening to real women, millions of them every single day.
Mm-hmm. The other point there, she talks about recommendations of almost not letting yourself go in menopause and throwing away grey bras and buying new underwear and dyeing your hair and fixing your teeth. I know my grey bra was like, what have I done?
My grey hairs are like, oh,
what have I done?
I don't have the time to sit in a hairdresser to have my hair dyed.
God, it's like I was reading an article in the media this week how grey hair is becoming fashionable, and I was so
celebrate mine.
I celebrate it. I feel that part of the conversation that I'd love to open is, like, can't women go grey, like, and still be hot and sexy, and it's
and Davina can so be the poster woman for that, because she's so hot. Go be hot and grey, Davina. Go be hot and grey. Your grey bra or no bra, whatever it is you want to do.
Embrace your bras. No bra, absolutely. And when we talk about the missing bits of the menopause hormone piece, one thing that we bang on about a lot is chemical toxicity, and that dyeing your hair is putting a load of chemicals on your body that are endocrine disruptors and are going to affect your hormones. So there was this, maybe we don't dye our hair and we don't cover ourselves in chemicals and we don't put lots of stuff on our bodies and we don't ingest loads of chemicals.
It's part of the repression again, isn't it? It's like we're going to look great. Exactly. Healthier menopause, healthier endocrine. What if we actually became fiercer, mature women with grey hair who haven't got our emotions suppressed, but also have maybe had the edge taken off a little bit because we've learned some emotional tools to deal with the rage, or are actually on an HRT which is supportive of our body, not just putting a sticking plaster on it. Yes, you're right. There is great that people are talking about it, but there are huge pieces of the conversation that are being missed.
I hope she contacts